Welcome to another riveting edition of Risk and Return. I'm Charlie Gasparino from Fox Business and the New York Post. I'm here with my partner in crime, Bob Sloan from S3 Partners, who has a full lineup of stock. I don't know, what do you want to call them? Actionable stocks.
You know, it reads into the market terrain.
Yeah, reads into the market terrain. And then plus I got some interesting news on what it's like to be a reporter covering a big merger like I'm doing right now.
You're like the most popular guy in town.
You know, I never knew I was popular. Everybody hated me before I started breaking all these stories. And now I'm getting calls from hedge funds left and right. The funniest thing is I got a call from a hedge fund, not going to say who said they wanted to talk to me about information. And I said, sure, always willing to talk.
Willing to talk, sure.
And then, I get on the phone and the guy brings in his compliance guy, like a lawyer. And then all of a sudden the guy is having me sign a contract. And I'm like, listen, I'll talk to you on background. I don't have to quote you by name. I understand.
You are a journalist. They understand that, right?
Okay. But I need to use your information in some ways. I don't take off the record. It means, and then he goes, okay, we can deal, but you will agree to blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, Bob, this was like reading a contract.
So these guys are called up for the minor leagues. I mean, what's going on?
I said, stop reading that fucking legal shit to me. I'll give you background, deep background. Won't use your name. Right. But stop reading that shit. And then the guy goes, I think we should end this conversation. I said,
you shouldn't have made the call in the first place.
Call, you fucking dope. I didn't say that, but I did hang up on him. Anyway, here we are. That just happened a few minutes ago. So, Bob, I am kind of in a little bit of a, I don't know, crazy mood.
You're on a heater, right? It's adrenaline pumping, right? When you're in the middle of the story.
And I'm getting emails from everybody, including my bosses at Fox. What's happening? What's going on?
Well, what is going on, Charlie? You're in the middle of the story. Let's start with you. This is everybody's talking about it. It's national news. What's going on?
It's by the way, it could be a $70 billion deal. It's between 60 and 70, depending on how the bids are weighed and what's going on. And listen, I think it really is coming down to two bidders right now. Okay, take Comcast out for a lot of reasons. They're offering cash and stock. The other guys are offering much more cash and no stock, and I think the Netflix bid's a little funky because it's mostly cash, but we don't know exactly. Does that mean 51% or 81% or 91%? The Paramount Skydance run by the Ellisons, David and Larry, who's backing his sons. David Ellison's the independent movie producer. Larry is the co-founder of Oracle, friend with Trump. They're offering a mostly cash bid. But I think the real issue here, and it's interesting because I really think that that David Zaslav, who runs WBD, the board, likes the Netflix offer for a lot of reasons. I think there's management synergies. I think they just like them. They don't. David Zaslav's never dealt with David Ellison. He's an independent producer. Ted Sarandos, who runs Netflix, Reed Hastings, they're staples of Hollywood. Of
course. And,
and this is at bottom in relationship business. And David Zaslav is, is a Hollywood guy, relationship guy. My view is he's done a great job as CEO, but that's a whole other story. Right. And he's doubled the stock price, more than doubled the stock price when this thing is said and done, if he does sell it. But I think he's angling towards Netflix. But the problem is, the Trump administration does not want to approve the Netflix deal. And they're going to get the legal proctology exam from the DOJ antitrust of the century. I mean, literally, they're going to have to be willing to play 2.5 years of legal hardball. And then they're going to have to be, and Trump is going to investigate. I mean, the DOJ antitrust is going to investigate. They have a big case. And if they go to court, which you can, if they reject and you go to court, they can win. They could win, meaning Netflix, but they could lose. Yeah. This is a little different than the last time I covered a big media deal that lost in the courts, that was opposed. Remember, Trump won during his first term, opposed the AT&T Warner.
That's right.
Warner, I guess it was called Warner Brothers back then, Warner Media back then, which is everything but Discovery. Then they spun out that, merged with Discovery, and Zaslav became the CEO. I can't remember who was the CEO during those. I mean, Randall Stephenson of AT&T was running the show, right? But Trump won, challenged it, and it was a vertical merger. Two companies that don't really have overlap.
Yep.
Boom, boom. And those are harder to prosecute. Let's face it.
But
But this is different. This is both a horizontal And giving them monopoly power is a vertical layer. They're literally layering the largest streamer, 300 million subscribers, Netflix, with the third largest, 100 million in, I guess, Warner Brothers. Yes, Warner Brothers is like 100. That's like 400 million subscribers on top of two studios merging together. And if so, the way they're looking at it in Trump world is if you're like, say, a producer and you want Netflix could really squeeze you in so many different ways if you're a consumer, because you want to go before their 400 million eyeballs, right?
Just as a matter of reference, sorry to interrupt.
Right.
But the most popular TV show, right? And forget TV.
Right.
Even the biggest streamers, they may get 60 million people, 70 million people. Netflix has many hundreds of millions of people. It's
just nuts.
So you think of the most popular TV show, popular streaming, times it by 3 or 4, that is Netflix.
Okay, so now Netflix has argued, and I think really successfully, to WBD board, hey, this is bullshit. Streaming is not an anti-competitive category.
Right.
There's so much other stuff out there. We have competition from YouTube, from this place, from that place. And they sold it. There's a guy named Sunshine. Steve Sunshine, really smart guy. He's a telecom guy that is able to made that case. The problem is if he's made that case to Trump, and I heard they know about his case, they're not buying it. Okay. And so you gotta say, okay, we're gonna get the legal proctology exam of the lifetime for 2.5 years, assets depreciate, companies in limbo, and then we got to go to court. Or you go to Ellis and you sell it for $26 a share. That's $60 billion plus the whole thing. Well,
do their odds get better if the Republicans lose the midterms? Does it matter?
I don't think it matters.
I don't think it matters either, right? Doesn't matter, right?
And Trump likes Larry Ellison, let's face it. Trump really wants that whole company with Larry Ellison to change the left-wing bias of all those media properties.
Right.
Which,
and which ones are those? I mean, how many media properties?
Well, you have CBS and CNN.
CNN, right?
And who knows?
And it actually put them together.
And even programming. Like a lot of people think the programming today has been woke. That Netflix offers up woke programming left and right that reflects the Silicon Valley ethos of Sarandos and Reed Hastings and all the people. So that's where we are right now. I think the board is leaning towards Netflix just based on everything in here. But I mean, they're gonna they have counsel. I mean, they have like real lawyers. I think Covington and Burling, I heard, is involved. I could be wrong.
Big DC law firm.
Yeah, big firms. I hear they got to be telling them, like, listen, here's what.
Here's the road ahead.
Here's the road ahead, and it's like proctology exam without anesthesia. Okay, so anyway, so that's where that is. But since we've hit on proctology exams, let's get into your actionable calls this week. Which are not proctology exams, right? They are what? They are.
Well, I would say that they're
glide paths. I'm sorry.
I set that one.
I'm in a mood.
Man. But one of the stocks we do want to talk about is Oracle. Okay.
The aforementioned Oracle of Larry Ellison.
Yeah.
By the way, his net worth, I could tell you a lot of people in this deal are looking at his, I've written about this, how it's been getting crushed. I mean, he's still worth, we should be so lucky, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't be,
he's still worth
I wouldn't be singing a song.
200 billion, but he was worth 400 billion, right?
Well, what's enough, right? So
what's 200?
What's 200 versus 400? I mean, I guess it matters when you're trying to buy WBD and everything else. So, one of the things, Oracle, as we know, is obviously known for its database systems and its cloud infrastructure. But as you mentioned, the stock is under pressure.
Wow.
And, we can see and
it's still under pressure, right?
Yeah, it's still under pressure. Short interest has climbed. And, more importantly, some of the short-term technicals have broken down. But what's caught people's attention is when we haven't heard a lot about CDS since the mortgage crisis, right? Since the financial crisis.
So you've been following its credit default swaps on Oracle?
On Oracle.
That is amazing. Now, credit default swaps, just for the uninitiated out there, is a insurance policy you take out just in case a company goes into default.
That's right.
and you, I mean, it's a hedge against your bond holdings, but people trade them like commodities, right?
And so what's happening is that OpenAI has been leveraging the balance sheets of these big Mag 7
Right.
companies to get itself financing.
Right.
And the one that's been issuing the most debt has been Oracle. And all of a sudden, the CDS, and when I was on Bloomberg, about 2 weeks ago.
The dreaded competitor.
Sorry about that, but
What
we
are
are
you
we are equal opportunity.
I have friends at Bloomberg.
But it came up in when we were on Matt Miller's show and with Danny Berger, and I think CDS was like 80 basis points at the time. Now it's 150.
So it doubled.
Pretty much
By the
doubled.
way, that is a good story, and that's a headline.
It is a headline.
The CDS of Oracle. Now, does anybody really think Oracle is going to default on its debt?
I don't think so, but it's a concern about AI, right? It's a concern that these companies are leveraging their balance sheets to give money and invest in OpenAI and other things.
Well, no one thought
right.
Citibank was on the verge of going out of business.
Right, but it's also different is that they're making so much money, but it shows you that how split the marketplace is. There is genuine fear. I would say fear is strong. Concern about how much money is being spent. Where's the return? That's what the CDS price tells you. Where's the return? People are asking, where's the, show me how this plays out.
So 90 basis points in CDS land, is that de minimis?
No, it's not.
And so it's up another 90.
It's almost, I think it's a 150 today.
That's not de minimis, you're saying?
No, it's not. It's not de minimis. 10 is de minimis.
Right, 10 basis points.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
20 is de minimis. 30 is de minimis.
That the CDS of a company thought to be
rock
solid,
ridiculously rock solid, right?
That's a headline. I've not read that anywhere.
It's been out there. It's
chatted
about.
It should be written more about.
And
I'm
so
just the man to do it.
Right. So, the positioning in the stock, the technical price, and the credit is all pretty much pointing bearish right now. And that's that's an interesting thing, right? So you have CDS, widening from 125 to around 150 back to 125. It's in that range. And you have your moving averages, your 50, 100, 200-day moving averages, all pretty negative. So it's really fascinating. And we talked a lot about NVIDIA last week and how the short interest in that stock was falling, but people weren't accelerating into it. And so I think one of the great stories here that's underlying this data is the following. People were hedging NVIDIA to hedge the market. As we said last week, if you looked at NVIDIA and looked at the direction of NVIDIA, you would understand where the market was going to go. That correlation broke down. Even though NVIDIA is still making money and probably will still keep making a ton of money, people said, you know what? I'm out. And the stock's fallen a lot, right? That's 20%. But the short interest has remained more or less flat in shares. Now the notional is down because the stock's down, but the number of shares short has remained pretty much flat. So people are riding this down. And so the mass media is like, NVIDIA falls, the market's going to crash. Well, no, because a lot of people have NVIDIA as a hedge for the entire market. So it fell. Yes, it made people nervous, but did it crash the entire market? No, it did not. They misunderstood it. People were hedged out, and they're using it the right way, and their hedges are in the money. Oracle is very different. Apple, very different. We want to talk about.
Why are they different?
Well, because number one, the bet on debt and the leverage. So it's a really interesting way.
You don't know. Does NVIDIA have CDS outstanding and all that?
Well, the answer is not a notable one,
right?
And which is interesting in and of itself. And the second thing is that with Oracle, people have said, if I short these stocks, it's unlimited risk. The stock could go up a double, and I may actually lose my principal plus. If I buy CDS, I lose the premium. It's defined risk. And I have more or less the same bet.
CDS is a short play in many ways.
It is.
That's what people forget, because CDS prices go up when the company is
negative. That's right. Insurance goes up.
Insurance goes up. Costs more to buy insurance.
That's right.
But you could trade it like a commodity, like you could trade anything else.
That's correct. And so this is a much more short-term play. That's why it's different. So the premium is defined, the downside is defined, but so is your upside. I mean, technically it's unlimited, but it's not going to go to 1,000 basis points. And it's just a different way to play how skittish people are about AI investment right now. Now, this might be a year-end thing, whatever. But Oracle is interesting because it's just, it is being used as a hedge against AI infrastructure risk. That's what CDS is telling you. And it's really a proxy for stress across the mega cap tech. That's why Oracle is important. Next
Do
thing.
you think anything is in there about Ellison financing this Warner Brothers? I hate to bring everything back to Warner Brothers.
Well, it's all about balance sheet.
Because remember, he is providing some of the balance sheet for this deal. This deal could cost like $60 billion.
It's all about balance sheet. They're issuing a lot of debt, and people are saying, you know what? Show me what the end game looks like here. It's not just a free pass.
We should point out that Larry Ellison betting against him.
Bad idea. But anyway,
it's been horrible. But that not everybody's 100% all the time.
Well, our job isn't to say whether it's a good idea or bad idea explicitly. It's to say this is what the data,
terrain,
this is the terrain, and this is what it says. And that leaves us to Apple. So a funny thing happened along the way when NVIDIA went down 15% is that Apple's up 50%.
How much?
50 since
50.
September.
Oh, interesting.
So it's really now, Google or Alphabet and Apple are really in the leadership phase of the stock market. And what's fascinating is that if you look at the NASDAQ and you look at Apple short interest, people are not shorting that stock. They're not. And so what they're really saying is, and this is where I think things are a little more interesting. The short interest has been flat. I think we have a chart for Apple and NVIDIA short interest, and you can see it right on the chart. You can see that basically short interest has been flat for Apple, and as a matter of fact, going down and then flattening out even as the stock goes up. So what that tells us is there's probably an air pocket in that stock. The same thing for the Qs.
Interesting.
And so this is a little different risk than NVIDIA. People are not necessarily using this as a short against the entire marketplace. And if they are, they're not increasing it. And so they're riding Apple rather than increasing their hedging along the way. So Apple and the Qs are a different scenario than NVIDIA, all based on our short interest data, which we just put up on the screen. The last thing we'll talk about is Maersk. This is one of my favorites because
it's a shipping stock. Huh?
Shipping stock. We've talked a lot about this with our friend Jack Devine, and also Robert Koenigsberger of Gramercy. Right. He was talking about Venezuela and shipping lanes. And we've been watching this very, very, very closely.
Now we know there's like almost war going on with Venezuela. We shut down their airspace. We want to get Maduro out. I mean, meaning Trump.
Correct.
Right.
If
and that's just one more point. That's a developing situation. I mean, who knows? By the time he might be bombing
them right now. Who knows?
Right.
But the amount of short interest in Maersk has tripled year to date to 22% on the float.
That's amazing. Well, over this probably.
Right. And even though the stock has been up. So what is that telling you? It's telling you that the peace premium is actually kind of unwound. People are very skittish about global trade, supply chains, and shipping lanes. And they're increasing their hedging against geopolitical risk by shorting this stock because it's such a dominant player in the shipping game. So keep your eye on that. That's how people are wagering that we are in a
war,
tenuous, I would say, tenuous geopolitical situation.
We should point out that Venezuela is not like China invading Taiwan. Doesn't present that type of geopolitical risk.
But it may be a warning sign to them. It's like, hey,
I mean, markets always
we can make things really difficult for you. You want to make things in 2027. You want to put everything together, and you want the rebel Taiwanese to be part of the homeland. That's not without consequence.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting idea, way to look at this, in my view, is that if China says, okay, we understand the Monroe Doctrine, right? That we control, this is our hemisphere, right? if you guys have to understand our Monroe Doctrine, Taiwan is Chinese territory.
They've been saying that for a long time.
If we go and take Maduro out and do what we have to do down there through hard power, not necessarily soft power. I think we're using soft power more or less in Honduras and other places, which we're trying to get regime change. If you do that, we could take. Why shouldn't we have the green light to take over Taiwan? And maybe that's where things get really squirrely here.
Well, it depends on your view on fentanyl and where does it come from and what's the supply chain for fentanyl, and is there a supply chain that goes through Venezuela? I saw something in the journal yesterday.
I say yes and no. I mean,
a lot of they took down a lot of these guys into cartels,
right?
And Trump is very serious about that. It's very, very obvious. And if that's the reason you're poisoning 100,000 people in this country, we want you to stop. You're not going to stop. That's one thing. If it's, hey, you get all your oil from this place, and that's a good fig leaf, that's another.
I've heard that the more drugs are just coming across the border from Mexico. I don't know. I'm not an expert at this. Right. I will say, though, that this sort of juxtaposed to the Chinese situation is interesting to me, just following the news and thinking like, Trump is he's got this interesting relationship with Xi, where, my friend, he always calls him my friend. I got a great relationship with him. You kind of get the impression that he thinks he can sweet talk Xi. And, remember, this guy's a hardened communist. He believes in certain things. That whole Belt and Road stuff was all about,
soft power, not so soft.
Yeah, increasing their soft and hard power
right
across the world, including in their hemisphere.
And to be clear, those places that are mineral rich.
Yes.
So the funding of oppressor oppressed ideology is also funding mineral rich things. Some people call that colonialism. Buying minerals for export.
Well, they look at it
colonialism.
Just so you know, they look at it as just you deserve it because of what you did to us during the Opium Wars. So remember, that's what you're dealing with here.
Long history.
I don't think that you can sweet talk a guy like that.
To be clear, America wasn't the primary mover in the Opium Wars. It was Great Britain.
Yes. No, I know, but we always get thrown in there.
Well, it's a special relationship until
it's a great movie. When I was a kid, I don't know if you've seen it. It was called 55 Days in Peking, I think, about the Boxer Rebellion. Which I guess was part of this whole construct, and how the colonial powers just descended upon China.
They carved it up.
Yeah,
that's right. What else we got, Charlie?
We do have a Fed chair. They make it any day now.
What are you hearing?
It's so bizarre. So, okay, most people think Kevin Hassett, the current NEC chief, volatile guy. He's always on TV. He's on Fox a lot. Really nice guy. He served in Trump 1, I believe. He's got the inside shot. The two other guys are Chris Waller, who's a Fed board governor, and a former Fed board governor, now an academic, Kevin Warsh, who is a really smart guy.
Really smart guy.
I mean, so is Waller. And they're all smart, Here's something interesting from what I hear. There has been an attempt by a lot of people in corporate America and Wall Street to basically go to Trump's people and say, don't pick Hassett.
Right.
He's considered too close to you. He's too much of a mouthpiece. You're going to lose all semblance of independence. Right. He's not going to have the stature within the Fed itself.
Yeah, he's not a white paper guy.
I don't think he is.
Right.
And I don't know much of his background. I mean, Powell was in the bureaucracy of the Fed for a long time. He's not necessarily an economist. He's a banker, I believe, by trade, and a lawyer. Yellen became Fed chair, but she was also a mess in many ways, right? And she was Treasury Secretary. So I mean, this is like, I don't know if I necessarily buy that argument, but that's what they're saying, that this guy is kind of like not good for the job.
Yeah.
And I'm getting this not from just Democrats. I'm getting this from conservatives and who think you need kind of somebody in there that could sell an interest rate cut. Because remember, if you're getting picked by Trump, you're going to cut at least
Yeah,
you're going to
at
start
least a
cutting
couple
rates,
of times. Yeah, for sure.
right? You got to sell that, and if you can't sell that,
You're
we're fucked because the 10-year can gap out to 5%, and once that happens, it's game on for a recession and bad stuff in the markets. That's what happened.
Although it does seem like when yields rise like that, there's a lot of money that loves that number. Loves, they'll take 4.5%, 5% all day long.
Yeah, but Bob, when I remember when it was inching up there, when it was inching when Trump went nuts on tariffs, right? This is the real this is why he backed off his Liberation Day tariffs. Yes, the markets went nuts, but really the bond market went nuts. And I was covering it real time. It was like, it was at night. And I was at Ilio's, our restaurant, and I was watching it, and it was just insane. And someone was clearly dumping treasuries, believing that he's really going through with this. And literally the next day, Besson came out and said, "All right, we're gonna pause everything and try to put the genie back in the bottle." Scott Besson, the Treasury Secretary. So I don't think you can have a 10-year bond at 5% and have good things happen. And I think that's what the warning is, whether that's bullshit, whether that's, just gamesmanship, whether Hassett is a smart guy. I've known him a long time. And I don't know well, I've covered him. I'm just saying that's the knock on him. Mm-hmm. And Warsh, I think, would be an interesting choice. I don't know Waller well. Do you know Waller? Have you follow him? I mean,
no, I don't know.
He's a Trump guy, Waller, right?
Yeah.
He's for lower rates. Warsh is much more independent, so probably the odds of him getting it are probably
he's the right pick.
Means he's
if those are the last three, because who knows, right?
He is
the only guy I know is the president.
He is the right pick, but probably the guy that is least likely to get it because he's the right pick.
He's the right pick.
He is, and I've known the guy for a long time. He's really smart and really he should be in that job. He's been training that job a long time. And the markets would generally applaud that, I think.
Well, on that note,
by the way, next time we come here, hopefully two things happen. There's a Fed chair, which I think it looks like it's coming down the pike, right?
Yep.
And number two, we know what's going on with Warner Brothers Discovery, whether they actually do sell, whether they don't sell, whether they sell to Paramount or Netflix, or whether they, by the way, people are discounting 10% chance they do nothing. Then again, the stock goes to 12.
Right.
It's at 24.5.
But one thing we know, if you want to be in the know, you got to listen to Charlie Gasparino.
You got to listen to this.
And Risk and Return.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I watch a lot of financial podcasts because I have to. Most of it's boring. It's all like blather about stocks, and there's no mixture of policy, stock, finance, the broader, bigger picture. We try to give it all to you guys, and we try to do it in a concise amount of time. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Charlie Gasparino from Fox Business and the New York Post with my partner, Bob Sloan from S3 Partners, signing off with another riveting edition of Risk and Return.